Sometimes when things go wrong, you can't blame life. Cause when you shot your shot, what was your aim like? What were you targeting? Cause if it ain't right, and you still go with it, then that is on you. It's on you, it's on you, it's on you.
What's going on, you guys? This is Romi and Sam, and you are listening to the Mindset Rebooted podcast.
And if you are a first-time listener, thank you so much for stopping by. Here on the Mindset Rebooted podcast, we like to have conversations that help us to elevate the way we think. And what that means is that we have old ways of thinking that have held us back in the past, and we like to take on new ways of thinking that help us to maximize our full potential and to become the best versions of ourselves.
So if you get any value out of this episode, please share it with one person so we can help more people.
And today we're gonna be encouraging you all to not change course, that you can increase your market share by still being consistent in doing some of the following things. But don't change course. It's not over for you yet. There's a bigger piece of the pie for you to eat away at.
What are the following things? You got me curious.
Oh, well, we're gonna discuss them. It's really gonna be a conversation about what we can do, right? Because oftentimes we think that, hey, you know, we've done all we can do, we've hit a certain plateau, and we feel like, you know what, let's leave this market, or let's do something different. But we really haven't fully taken advantage of all the weapons that are in our arsenal currently. And so we quit prematurely. But you've heard the saying, hey, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. That's what we try to do oftentimes. We try to fix something that's not broken. We just need to rethink, reimagine, reassess what we're currently doing and ask questions to ourselves, our team, do a little bit of research, do a little bit of study, and we'll realize, oh snap, there really is a bigger piece of the pie that we have not touched yet. Let's start eating away. Pac-Man.
So, Pac-Man, okay. So here, an example from me is, y'all know I do Dance on the Edge events. I do pop-up Latin salsa events, and we were getting a lot of traction. And then in 2021, I left California. I went to Texas, started doing some stuff there, and I started shifting my attention in a new market. And I shifted my attention there, but everyone I knew and every new business person I met who you know, you always talk shop when you meet with other business people, because, you know, like, it's like an addiction. We always want to talk business, like, oh, what are you doing, right? And so when they hear what I'm doing with Dance on the Edge in Sacramento, and then they're like, so why are you in Texas?
Right.
I'm like, oh, well, you know, I just want to be here, bro. You know, change of pace. And then eventually we identify shiny object syndrome, where you're like, that just sounds cool. I want to be in Austin, and I want to do other events out here, right? But I already had something successful in California. Yeah. Dance on the Edge successful in Sacramento. The city loves us. Yep. The associations love us. The community loves us. So why would I stop doing that? Why would I go away from what's successful in a city that has over 500,000 people living in it, and that's not inclusive of the people who will be moving here in the next 5 years, because everyone's moving from the bigger cities, right? So I have this event company. It maybe hits 20,000 people a year. That's nothing compared to the 500,000 people already here. Yeah. But it's successful. And by them asking me those questions, like, trust me, it happened more than once. And I always felt like an idiot because I didn't have an answer for them. It finally made sense, like, wait, I haven't even reached my maximum potential with this events yet. Why am I gonna try and start something new?
What were some of the questions that you were getting as you said it finally hit?
So a lot of them were like, how are you not making money off of this if you're successful?
Gotcha.
And a lot of them were like, well, if you're doing all these things, why don't you just do more? They're like, oh, dang, you got 500 people showing up. Oh, dang, you were at this big street party, which had 10,000 attendees for that one special event, and you were one of the entertainment. I'm like, why don't you do more of that? People obviously want y'all. When I was talking to the business people, I was like, how do I, you know, make it more profitable? Right. So that we could hire people on and build it more, right? And they were starting to like, well, part of profits means that you need to have more goods or services sold. And they're like, why don't you just sell more of your services? Right. Why are you trying to go to a different market, change your specialty and sell there, when you know people like what you have in Sacramento, you know you have a good product, and you know that like you have a lot of, I would say, city awareness. So not necessarily market awareness, which is the 500,000 people, but the city itself is aware of us. So why don't you leverage that so that you could get closer to that 500,000 people?
I've also heard you mention while you were speaking that you were like, hey, you have all these people moving from the Bay Area and other places to Sacramento. It's making it, you know, easier for you essentially. My question is, were you even thinking about that prior to making the transition to Texas?
No, I didn't understand market share.
Gotcha.
I just didn't know it at all. I was just like, I was one of those people where, all right, man, we're capping out. We're not passing 500. Like, we've done all we can. And it was until other people started like, well, you could do more than 500.
You do more, yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of people out there, and in California, there's a lot of people interested in Latin dancing. You have a big market there. So what are you talking about? Your venue that you're usually at could support maybe 2,000 people. Why don't you fill that up? So why do you think that you've peaked? Why do you think that you can't grow anymore when there's so much more room?
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, what I really want the listeners to hone in on is the fact that he made that transition to Texas prematurely, not understanding market share. But had he done the research where he was like, hey, I have all these people moving from the Bay Area to Sacramento, right? So people are coming to my territory. Had he already did that, he would have known, okay, there's a bigger grab here. When we talk about market share, it's literally, we're talking about a specific industry, and we're talking about in that industry, how much of it are you controlling, essentially. That's really what we're talking about when it comes down to market share. For the example that Romi's using with the Latin dance industry, so much needs to be done, right? We're talking about people want to be able to have lessons on a continual basis. People don't even mind paying for lessons. People want to be able to have social events and congresses to go to and all of these different things. And because he already has a name established here, you know, and a lot of you who are business owners, you're thinking about, hey, let me chase all these different rabbits because you're hearing about all these different countries, companies expanding into all of these various locations. And so you start to have FOMO, fear of missing out. You're thinking, oh man, if I don't keep up, I'm not gonna be competitive. When really you have to realize that when it comes down to market share, I think, what was the number we quoted? You said,
so if you're a business and you're making $100,000 a year, but the market or the industry that you're in makes $100 million a year, you're not even 1% of that $100 million. $100,000 out of $100 million is 0.1%.
0.1%. 0.1. And that's just 100,000. That's 100,000. A lot of people feel like they made it off of 100,000, but that's just 0.1%, which means that there's an abundance. There's more than enough to go around. So before you think about changing course, right, and taking on new expenses, right, because when you start from the ground up with anything, you're taking on new expenses. You gotta invest into getting new people to support you, purchasing maybe different venues, whatever you're doing, marketing, all this other stuff. It's taking away time and money by going there. When you already have something established and you just expand where you're already at, it's going to help you because now you're gonna get, what did we say in the last episode? We were talking about growing through word of mouth. Things were happening organically.
Yeah, referrals.
Through referrals, right? And so it's one of those things that if you are a current business owner, before you decide to expand, first ask yourself key questions and do research so that you understand that you're not leaving prematurely. There has to be a reason why you're leaving, not just to keep up with the Joneses, but it has to make sense. Okay, we've already done everything that we could in this one territory, and there's already demand for it in another territory. People already understand who we are, and they want us to be in that location. That's a natural transition then at that point. It becomes easier. But if you're a no-name person and you're just known in the local area, expanding your local area, be known in your city, be known in your state, and then continue to expand that way.
I look at it like in and out, man. They stay very local on the West Coast and they barely strike shot, and then they started going towards Texas and you're like, what the heck? You know, and then you got the Whataburger and In-N-Out stuff.
Oh yeah.
But you know, those franchise, well, In-N-Out's not a franchise, but that example of like, they build up their base so powerfully, both Whataburger and In-N-Out, that literally you will have one of their fans arguing with each other. Like, oh nah, In-N-Out's way better, which by the way, I'm on the In-N-Out side. And I've tried Wild Burger. It's garbage, man. I don't know what's going on there. But it's only garbage. I ain't gonna get into this. My bad. I'm sorry, guys. But see, this is what I mean. Like, if you have success, focus on amplifying that success. If you are capping out at, my experience was 500 attendees, then you don't have a product problem because 500 people are showing up. You don't have a fan base problem. What you have is a problem of getting in front of new people. So work on your marketing. That's the problem that you got to work on. It's not the product. Why you got to change the product?
Right.
And that's the lesson I had to learn through all this stuff. It doesn't make sense for your business. Because if you get shiny object syndrome, man, usually that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. But thank you for tuning in. We're going to keep providing you with this great content. And until next time, Mindset Rebooted.
Sometimes when things go wrong, you can't blame life. Cause when you shot your shot, what was your aim like? What were you targeting? Cause if it ain't right, and you still go with it, then that is on you.